Oh,
Okie doke. I believe we are up and running. So let me just very quickly say a hello and welcome to everyone as a part of our March Mentoring Mondays. I have to tell you that these mentoring sessions have taken a totally different shift, as right in the middle of March, the bottom fell out of the United States with the coronavirus madness gone everywhere. And so everybody's focus has shifted, everybody's priorities have shifted, everybody's values have shifted. And so the whole world has pretty much been turned upside down, like literally on its head. So it has been a very interesting season, that is for sure. And I have no doubt that that also affects our featured aspiring superhuman, our guest for today's coaching session. So I want to take a quick second and allow her to introduce herself. Now, please help the rest of the world. They're going to see your name in writing. How do you pronounce it with your gorgeous Jamaican accent? Do you say Sydney? Do you say Sydonie? How do you pronounce it?
Sydonie.
Sydonie. Okay, Sydonie. Now, Sydonie, we actually, if I remember correctly, we go way back a few lifetimes. Is that right?
Way back.
First met eons ago.
Yes.
So give me an update. Tell the world about you. Let us get to know you in, say, one or two sentences.
So originally from Jamaica, as you mentioned, I do have a direct sales business for the last 10 years. And in terms of career goals, wanting to be as successful as I can be in that endeavor.
Okay, fantastic.
Personally, I'm married for 14 years, and I have one 9-year-old girl at home as well. So that keeps me very busy.
Yes, yes. Now, was she always at home, or is she now at home?
Now at home. So we've had her for the last 3 years. She's my husband's niece.
Amazing.
So she moved here from the Caribbean when they
Wow.
had a hurricane, and she moved here to go to school. So similar situation to what's going on now in terms of chaos and displacement. So she's been with us for the last 3 years.
Wow. So she is going from one displacement to another, huh? She
Yes.
is going to be one resilient child, that's for sure.
For sure, for sure.
Wow. Okay, now you are in North Carolina, is that right?
I am. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And is that where you have been since you came from Jamaica, or did you stop somewhere else in between?
I lived in New York for 14 years, and then I've been in North Carolina for 10.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, amazing. And I remember you sharing in your bio that in addition to your 10 years in direct selling, you also are a former accountant. Is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and how long did you do that?
Just about 10 years as well, over 10 years.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay, excellent. So you were born and raised in Jamaica. You migrated to the States when you were 18 years old. You did accounting for 10 years. You did direct sales for 10 years. You've been married for 14 years. So you definitely have a track record for consistency and for loyalty. So I can see that that's a big piece of your character, which is amazing. Now, I want to ask you, I know you shared with me that some of the interesting things about you, that you love to travel, you love to spend time with your family. Obviously, you are an immigrant to the United States, so you've got a very rich, diverse background. You've been through a lot of experiences. And so I asked you back when you were first selected as a winner and a participant for the Mentoring Monday session, I asked you what your top 3 goals were for 2020. Now, when I asked you this question, like I said, it was before coronavirus. So now we are, I wouldn't say we're after coronavirus, because I think we haven't even seen the full-on show yet. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. So at least that's what the experts are saying. Let me ask you and give you an opportunity to shift if necessary. Have your goals since the upheaval, have they changed or are they still the same?
Good question. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Okay.
I think like everybody else in the country is trying to figure out what our new normal
Yes.
is.
Yes.
Trying to figure out, are those goals even feasible now? And having to, the word I keep hearing in my mind is pivot, pivot. So now there's this new life that we have to create, so to speak. And then now it's trying to figure out how. Is it the same goals but doing them differently, or are they new goals? So I'm not quite sure if they're all the same, or if it's going to be a different way.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. So let me just share with everybody, because I think we're going to have a lot of clarity as we're just really examining where we're holding. Okay. So Sydonie shared that her 3 goals for 2020 were: 1, to be financially secure. She said first to have steady income, and then to have more than enough to invest and live comfortably. And then she said she would like to have career advancement with her direct sales company, and then to maintain a healthy lifestyle. And she said proper diet and exercise. Then on the flip side of that, she mentioned that her biggest hurdles. And I asked, what are the biggest hurdles that you think you'll need to overcome? And she said, feeling stuck. I know what I want, but I don't take the steps to achieve. Number 2 is mental clutter. And number 3 is time management. So I think, honestly, Sydonie, I think that right now, probably it will be most effective for us to review I'm just feeling that if we're going to review the goals and the hurdles sort of simultaneously, then it will help us find the best path, the most clear path for helping you to move forward. Okay. Now, there is a coffee machine right next to me. I don't even drink coffee, but there is a coffee here in my office, a coffee pot for my staff in my office kitchen. I'm going to turn it off, okay, because it's making a lot of noise. Let me just do that very quickly. Okay. Now we won't have so much rumbling. Okie doke. So let's go back and let's look at the goals, because I do believe that, generically speaking, that these goals are still possible 100% for the year. Okay, so now we might not be saying this week and this month, but when we're looking at 2020 as a whole, I don't think that there's any reason yet to believe that they're not attainable across the year. And the interesting thing is that, we're all in new territory right now. We're all, whether or not we feel like we each individually have an adventurous spirit, every person in the country is being forced to be a pioneer at this moment and feel things out for the first time, because never before in the history of mankind has everyone been forced to work from home. And never before has the entire nation or globe become homeschooling parents overnight. And blending all of these things together and having, the economy literally go down the toilet within a week's time. These are things that nobody was prepared for. Nobody has the skills as far as, I've got all this back knowledge that I can use in this situation. But we can learn from history, and we can use our discretion and our discernment based on our knowledge of past experiences, that we can do our best to make projections, right? So every business person right now, every business owner, every contractor, everybody that is responsible for creating their own income is being forced to pivot right now. So it was a very good on point choice of words. So the good news is also that you are already in a position of being comfortable and capable working from home. So that's one less shift that you will have to make over everyone else. Okay. Now, let's just say that you were already in a business that was up and running in a viably income producing way. Let's just say that's the case right now, because I know you said you had some financial goals, you wanted to make some advancements, and you weren't exactly sure how to flip the switch on those. So let's just for a second say that that was already up and running. Okay. Even the people that already had the money coming in, that has drastically changed over the last few weeks. And a lot of it is just based on fear. Okay. So once that fear dissipates, or once people have a little bit more certainty with their situation, they see how everything is going to play out, all of that purchasing action that very well may go back into place. Okay, so it's not a guarantee that that is going to be over the long haul for the rest of the year. In fact, everybody is working very hard to make sure that that's not the case, that this is a short-term challenge over a long-term challenge. So let's say that it's just a short-term situation. Then what that means is that we would be looking right now, we would be taking this, I'm working with a lot of my clients right now saying, we're going to take this quarantine and we're going to turn it into a cocoon of clarity. So how can I take a step back and literally play a game of leapfrog with the universe? Okay. So we were thrown a little bit of a curveball. Yes. But then how can we take a step back, reposition ourselves, and now take a running start and, with the rest of the world? Make sense?
Makes sense.
So if I'm going to use this time right now, if we know that everything is perfect, everything God does is perfect. It's not like God woke up one day and go, oh, what's this virus?
Right.
Okay. So he's got a plan. We don't know exactly what it is yet, but if we're going to trust that he has a plan and that everything is perfect, then we can feel safe and secure no matter what.
Right.
So we also know that life is only 10% what happens to us and 90% how we respond.
Right.
So if we can turn this like shock and awe into if we can shift our perspective a little bit, it's going to help us a lot. So, and when I say we and you, Sydonie, I'm not saying like me and you, I'm saying the universal, like all of us together. Okay.
Right.
So if we can understand that this quarantine has literally been given to us almost like a gift of time on a silver platter.
Wow.
Okay.
That's great perspective. Never thought about it like that.
Okay, good. So that's how the quarantine becomes a cocoon of clarity, right? So now God has said the whole world got to slow down.
Right.
We've all got to take a step back. We've got to take a deep breath. And we've got to look at what's really important and what do I do now? Because I was basically along for the ride in the passenger seat with the rest of the planet. Now I'm being forced to say, what do I want? What's important now? That whole trajectory has changed. Right?
Right.
So because it's where I thought I was going, because that's the path I was already on, but that's no longer even working. So now is a brilliant, amazing time to sit back and say, wait, did I even like that path to begin with? Was I happy with that? Because see, Sydonie, you actually have a gift right now because you were in a position of wanting to restart anyway. You are not forced into this pattern of panic of trying to save something.
Right.
Okay, because if that's the case, then it would be a whole different conversation of, well, what do we save? How do we save it? Da, 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 da. Okay, but now you have this amazing buffer of time, and you can say, if everything was working perfectly anyway, and this is what it would look like, would I be thrilled with that? Or is this an amazing opportunity for me to get clear, look inside, and decide what is it that I really, really want? Okay, now let me tell you why I'm bringing that up with you. Because if I felt from you that you were a jillion% passionate and committed and convicted with where you wanted to go, we would still be having that conversation. But you gave me a little sign in your notes that I was like, I want to dig a little bit deeper and I want to look at something, okay? And let me tell you what it was that you triggered it for me. You said, I'm feeling stuck. I know what I want, but don't take the steps to achieve. And then you mentioned mental clutter and time management. Now, for sure, those two things, mental clutter and time management, or the lack of time management, will stop any person dead in their tracks.
Right.
Okay. We know also that physical clutter leads to mental clutter, noise leads to mental clutter, distraction, lack of clarity, lack of focus, lack of time management. All of these things lead to mental clutter, distraction, overwhelm, and we just spin our wheels. We go nowhere. Okay. So if we were 100% solid that you knew where you wanted to go and what you wanted to create, we could immediately talk about, time management and mental clutter. But I actually want to go back and I want to spend just a couple of minutes on the first point that you mentioned, because it may shift the other things. Okay. You said, I'm feeling stuck. I know what to do, but I don't take the steps to achieve. Now, do you think you're not, this is the question, is, are you not taking those steps not to achieve because of the mental clutter and the lack of time management? Or could it be that you haven't yet really dialed in on what it is that you really want? And I'm going to ask you another couple questions that will help you walk through that mental exercise. Okay. How long have you had these same goals?
The top three that I gave you, forever.
Okay. Ding, 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 ding. Okay. So if I'm saying I want them forever, but yet I haven't found the inner motivation to do them, to achieve them, to become them, it's a big sign. It's a big, like, beep, 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 okay? Because something tells me that you find proper motivation to do other things in your life, yes?
I do.
Okay, you find the motivation to support your spouse. You find the motivation to support your niece. You find the motivation to do the things with your family and within your community. You find the motivation to go to the grocery store. You find the motivation to do all of these other things, right? So tell me about, very quickly, tell me some of your passions and your hobbies.
So a lot of it, so apart from that niece, I also have 2 other nieces and 1 nephew that lives close by.
Okay.
So most of my weekends I have all 4 kids. Wow. So I do, yes, I do a lot of things with them, a lot of activities with them. I also love to cook. So, I mean, that's one of, I guess, hobby and one of the things I'm passionate about as well.
Okay, great. So when you're telling me that you know what you want, but you don't have the motivation to achieve, okay, let me just say that there is such a thing as giving yourself permission to acknowledge whether or not that thing you've always thought you wanted is actually the thing that you want. Okay? Because, and here's why. It's one thing to say, yeah, it would be nice if all of these things exist in my life, right? But it's another thing entirely to say, am I willing to do the work to make those things happen? And do I like my life? Do I enjoy my life in what it looks like in actually making those goals happen? Okay. Would I actually be happy with myself? Would I be pleased with myself? Would I be proud of myself if I were living in the zone of making those things happen? Or is there something inside of me that is like, no, I don't really like that life. Like, that's not actually what I want. So that's why I'm never doing it. Do you understand the questions that I'm asking you?
I
So,
do.
okay, now again, what you're having to do is you're having to walk yourself through these different scenarios because it could quite possibly be either one. It could be that the overwhelm, the lack of time management, the lack of clarity, and those things, like you feel like you just don't have a clear plan to move from point A to point B. And that could be what's stopping you. So we just need to put that clear plan in place. But what you're telling me in the first one is no, I know what it looks like. I actually have a plan. I know what I need to do. I'm just not doing. Okay. Now, I don't want to put you, on the spot in front of God and the country and say that you're forced to, marry yourself right now to either one of those paths. But I think it's a very important conversation that you have with yourself. Do you agree?
I agree. I agree. And it feels like it's both. It's a little bit of both. Like there is confusion, and I feel like the longer that I'm not doing the activities that I'm supposed to do, it causes more doubt, more. I definitely don't feel that I have the clarity. So I think once I get clear on what I want to do and how I want to do it, I think that will move me forward. So it feels like in answering the question, the two scenarios that you give, I could see both of them, not either or.
Yep. Now, may I ask you a couple of questions that I think will help a little bit with the clarity?
Yes.
Okay, and it could be that you have more clarity, so I asked Sydonie to give me some details before this coaching session started so we would have a little bit of a framework of where to start. So she gave me some bullet points. Now it could be, Sydonie, that you were just summarizing quickly for me and you have more clarity behind the bullet points that you gave me, but let me give you an example, okay? Let me pull up your notes here. One of them, you said, okay, maintain a healthy lifestyle, and you said proper diet and exercise. Okay, do you know what that means for you, proper diet and exercise?
I do.
Because proper is a very vague word,
Right.
right? Okay, so do you have that like narrowed down to a bullseye of what diet and exercise looks like for you?
I do. And one of my frustrations with myself is I always feel like there's like a three-part, there's a problem, the solution, and an execution.
Okay.
I can identify the problem, I can identify a solution, but then it's with the execution. So I do know what it looks like, but I'm not doing it.
Okay, so you think there's an element of self-sabotage happening?
Definitely.
Okay, would you be willing to share with us what your personal solution looks like for the diet and exercise so we can walk through some scenarios?
Um, so one of the things in terms of eating healthier is doing meal prep or like just planning. So, but often I end up not doing that, and then I'll wing it. Um, I do believe that I do cook and eat a lot of healthy things, but I want to do even better, and I want to eat on time and not miss meals, because that's also a part of the problem. In terms of exercise, just moving maybe on a daily basis, a 20-minute walk, but then with not planning or not scheduling that, it doesn't happen.
Yep. Okay, so how much exercise are you doing right now on a normal basis? It's okay, I'm not putting you on the spot. We can do it. Okay?
Apart from chasing kids.
Okay, okay, I'm with you. Okay.
So no formal exercise.
Okay, and how much meal planning are you doing right now?
I meal plan every week because I'm cooking for my whole family. But then in terms of making sure, so like every meal, I'll make sure like there's a veggie at but making sure that that happens all the time, or making sure I have always have protein and veggie to eat, even when even outside of my family. Um, just I don't do that planning all the time ahead of time.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. It's not going to be a beautiful question, okay? And I'm really happy we're through the screen because you can't smack me this way. So, my question is this, and this is something that's tough for a lot of, wives, mothers, aunties, caregivers to really sit with, okay? If someone else were feeding you the food that you're preparing for everyone else all day, every day, would it give you your definition of healthy?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, so then there's no problem with the food, right?
No, there's no problem with the food. I just want to have more more healthy, like making sure that there's always a vegetable, or making sure I'm drinking enough water.
Yeah, but did you hear what I asked you? You just said a contradicting answer. So do you need more veggies or are you making plenty of veggies?
I need more.
Okay, so here's one of the things that I invite you to do, okay?
Hmm.
Make a Sydonie menu
Okay.
just for you. Yes, it's a little bit more work, but you know the old analogy about you got to put the mask on yourself before you put the mask on your neighbor? Okay,
True.
you're spending all of your energy putting your mask on the neighbor,
Yes.
and you're neglecting yourself to where you don't even believe that you are going to do it. So you're beating yourself up in advance for not having done it. So you're never going to do it anyway, right?
Right. Right.
So, it is a law of human nature that it is physically impossible to outperform your beliefs.
Right.
It is physically impossible to outperform your beliefs about yourself. And what I hear you saying right now, it's not coming out of your mouth. It's more coming out of like your pores, okay, and your body language. And it's like, whoa, this big belief system that you're saying, I am not going to put the energy into taking care of myself because all of my energy is going into taking care of everyone else,
That's so true. Hmm.
right?
Yep.
Okay, now at the end of the day, at the end of the year, at the end of the lifetime, when you're sitting in your rocker at 95 or however old, okay, you're gonna have this massive story, okay, of everything that you did for everyone else. Meanwhile, your own story is totally neglected.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
Okay, so it's also not practical to assume or expect that I am going to go from nothing to superhero overnight.
Mhm. Right.
Right? I'm not going to go from couch potato to Olympic athlete overnight. And I'm not calling you a couch potato, and I'm not saying you want to be an Olympic athlete, but I'm saying that just to give an example of the two drastic extremes.
Right.
So what I would love for you to do is I want you to adopt one of my own personal life mottos, which is start ugly. Okay? So often we want to be beautiful before we start.
Right.
So we
And
never
that's my issue in a lot of areas in my life. So
Yes.
the perfection.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want you to take this phrase and I want you to start writing it everywhere, on your bathroom mirror, on your rear view mirror, on your laptop, on your phone. Like even if it becomes like, your screensaver on your phone, put it everywhere. Start ugly.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's what a lot of women have a really hard time understanding. Before I can be amazing, I'm going to have to suck a little bit. Okay. And I say it in a crass phrase because when you say it in a polite phrase, it doesn't deliver the same power. Okay?
Right.
So before I can be amazing, I'm going to have to be really, really bad. I'm going to be really bad for a little while. Like it's going to be really ugly. And then it's going to be just a little bit ugly. And then it's going to be kind of mediocre. And then it's going to be, I'm okay. And then I'm going to be good. And then I'm going to be great. And then I'm going to be amazing. Okay? But we are trying to start in amazing. And it's not possible. And that's why we never start. So give yourself permission to start ugly. Can you do that?
I can.
Okay. So everywhere that you go, you are going to say, Chaya told me to start ugly. Chaya told me to start ugly. Chaya told me to start ugly. I'm going to start ugly. Okay. So that is me giving, you don't need my permission, but I'm giving you permission outside of yourself so that you can take that permission and give it to yourself from inside of yourself. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay. Now, same thing with, like, let's say your exercise. You said it yourself. Okay, I could just put on my tennis shoes. I can walk out the front door. I can turn right. I can walk for 10 minutes. I can turn around and walk back. That gives me a 20-minute daily exercise. Okay, now I do not have to have a perfect calendar mapped out for the next year or month or week to start. I can just put on my shoes today. I can decide to hang up this phone and I'm going to walk out the door. I'm going to go right for 10 minutes. I'm going to turn around and walk back. Okay, now I'm giving you again an example, but even with it's very interesting because all of these things that you're saying that you're feeling are making you stuck. They're all very connected to each other.
Right.
Okay, the food and the time and the time management are connected. The exercise and the time management are connected. The mental clarity and the getting to work are connected. I mean, this is, you know, you've heard the saying that men are like waffles and women are like spaghetti.
Spaghetti, yeah.
Right? And so that's what you're seeing. You're seeing like all these pieces are very much interconnected and you're not feeling flow because of it.
Right.
So what we've got to do is we've got to help you get into alignment in all of these different areas of your life. And I do believe you that focus, one of my big beliefs is that clarity is every superwoman's secret superpower. Okay? Clarity of mind, clarity of vision, clarity of purpose, clarity of action. And once we're clear on all these things, you don't even wake up and go, what am I going to do today?
Right.
Okay. Also, what you've got at work against you is your programming.
You said programming?
Programming. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Your conditioning. Okay. You have become, and not just you, like all of us,
right,
have become highly, highly conditioned with poor habits. And I forget the exact number. You know, I'm going to have to go back and look it up now. I forget the exact number. It's a shocking number, like in the multiple thousands of thoughts that we have per day. And over somewhere between 70 to 90% of them are automatic. They're subconscious. They're a repeat of the same thoughts we had yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So we keep recreating yesterday over and over and over and over. Because it takes a lot of work, a lot of conscious, mental, and emotional work to uproot those old programs and replant them with new programs.
Right.
And every time we say, I'll start tomorrow, we're living in a program. It's an old conditioned, old habit that is keeping us stuck. So we also have to give ourselves, first of all, we have to be aware. Awareness is key when it comes to that. Okay. The second thing is we have to basically give ourselves an opportunity to go back to school, to reprogram. It's like you're getting a new hard drive, a new mainframe. And you've got to recondition that new mainframe with the new data that you want to operate off of. And that takes a little while, but there is no better time than a cocoon and a quarantine to do those things.
Right.
Okay. So what I would do if I were you, one of my assignments that I would work through is I would write out my new programming. Okay. And I would take a look at, for example, all of the programming that is going through my brain on a daily basis right now that is not serving me. How do you do that? You start paying real close attention to your self-talk. And you start paying real close attention to your moods and your energy and your emotional levels. And you start paying attention to the ups and downs and the highs and lows, and like, what are the triggers? And how much do you like to swim in the drama pool? And again, not you specifically, but this is a question we all have to ask ourselves, because we all, whether we like it or not, we all get sucked into drama at different levels. And especially right now, where we are addicted to the hormones of chaos and crisis and what's going to happen next, and we're just sucked in to this program. Mm-hmm. Okay, so whether or not in your conscious brain you're saying, yes, I want to exercise, yes, I want to eat healthy, yes, I want to have a good schedule, yes, I want to go to work and make money, yes, I want to create financial freedom. In your conscious brain, you're telling yourself that, but that's only 10% of who you are. The other 90% is what's controlling you. And one of the things that I learned a year or so ago that was such a game changer for me, it was like a total shift, was understanding that your body takes on the role of your subconscious mind. So let me explain what that means, because it's kind of a heavy statement. Your body is literally functioning as your subconscious mind. How can that be true? Every cell in your body has memory. Literally. Let's say, for example, if you were in a car wreck when you were 3 months old, okay? You have no conscious memory of it. But every cell in your body has a memory of that wreck. Whether it caused you fear, whether it caused you trauma, whether it caused you physical pain, whatever, that is programmed into your self. Okay? There is scientific evidence now that someone can be, let's say someone is sleeping, okay? Someone else walks up to that sleeping person and whispers a secret in their ear while they're sleeping in a foreign language. They don't hear it. They're not aware of it. Even if they did hear it, they wouldn't know what it's saying because it's in a foreign language. There is a way that can be retrieved from that person 30 years later.
Really?
How and why? Because it's programmed. Nothing escapes or leaves your subconscious ever. Ever. Okay? So all of these things that you habitually repeat to yourself in your mind, they eventually become a part of your belief system, and they become a part of your subconscious. Okay? How do you know what your subconscious is telling you? Well, look at what you do when you like daze off. Okay? When you float off and you're no longer paying attention. For example, you drive home from the bank, you drive home from grocery store, or you drive home from your parents' house, you drive home, from work, or you drive home from church, and all of a sudden you're home. You have no idea how you got there. Because your body drove you without your mind. Right? Or when everything we do is habitual. The way you brush your teeth, with your right hand starting in the upper right corner, the way you bathe every day, the way you get dressed, the way you prepare breakfast, the way you load your car, everything is habitual. Your body is doing all of those things by a program that you have fed it over time into your subconscious mind. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Okay, so how much of your subconscious mind, how much of your body really wants to go exercise? None of it. Because it is conditioned not to.
Right.
You've done that for the past 40 years. Okay? How much of your subconscious is really programmed to want to go out of your way to make that extra serving of vegetables? None of it. How much of your subconscious mind wants to stop eating, 2/3 of the way through because your digestive system works better when it's not overloaded? None of it, because we've programmed it to eat. We emotionally eat. We eat socially. We eat. That's just what we do. We don't even aware. Nobody has a clue how much they're actually eating on a normal day. People, when they start tracking their food, they're in shock. Okay, so why am I going to great lengths to explain all of this to you? Because if you really, really, really want what you say you want in those goals that you've given to me, and you haven't yet done them in 10 years, it's because your subconscious mind is running the show. So what does that mean we have to do? We have to reprogram.
Right.
Okay, so you can try to force yourself all day long to get organized, to get rid of the clutter, to, time management, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I really feel like at least half of your effort and energy is going to have to go into reprogramming those belief systems, as opposed to simply just trying to be busy in a different way.
I agree.
Make sense?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so let's look at just a couple of last quick things here. And if you'd like, after our call, I'm very happy I can send you some resources of things that I have found helpful when I'm looking at reprogramming beliefs and where to start with those things that they've been very helpful for me. So I'm very happy to share those with you if that's something that you would like.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, absolutely. Now, the other thing that I would do if I were you and I would say, let's wrap up with this, as a takeaway that will help you decide if you really would enjoy this life that you've been trying to guilt yourself into for the last 10 years.
Right.
Create a schedule. Create a hypothetical, theoretical schedule of what your life would look like if you were operating at capacity.
Okay.
Okay, like if you were in full rhythm, full flow with this life of the exercise, the food preparation, the work, literally, what a weekly plan sheet is, right? I'm sure you've got one. Okay, there's one on my website that you can grab if you want one. That the one that I use has 168 hours, so every hour of the whole week is on there. It's not just like a working hours one. Okay, so take that or any version that you feel comfortable with and create yourself a theoretical schedule of, if I were living in my flow of my desired life, of what I want to create this year, what would that schedule look like? Okay. Don't stress yourself right now of making a schedule for tomorrow. Don't worry about making a schedule for next week, because what happens is when we try to do that and we try to go from nothing to everything overnight, then we run out of time today, and then we run out of time tomorrow, and then it becomes like this domino effect of sabotage / guilt, that we sabotage ourselves why we didn't have time to do it today, and then we're guilty about yesterday of why we didn't have time to do it today, and so then we run in tomorrow, and tomorrow we're already running behind because we're late with the things we didn't do yesterday. And it becomes like this defeating cycle. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Right.
Okay. So do you think that you could find 5 to 7 hours over the next week that you could block out? It doesn't have to be in one chunk of time, but maybe 3 chunks of 2 hours. Okay. And you could block out those 3 chunks to work on your ideal schedule. Okay. And then really spend some time with yourself and say, do I like this schedule? Okay? Because again, if you don't like it, again, your subconscious mind, it is impossible to outperform your beliefs, right? And the subconscious mind is wired to protect you. So what does it do? It pulls you away from pain and pushes you toward pleasure.
Yeah.
Okay? So you've programmed it that exercise is painful. I got to get up early. It's cold outside. It's hot. It's who can be bothered to do that, right? It's much more comfortable here on the couch. It's much more comfortable here with my friends and family. Like, we tell ourselves these things, right? So if you, meaning your conscious brain and your subconscious, if you don't actually like that schedule in theory, you're never going to drive yourself to do it. Okay, because why? Because your subconscious mind protects you. It pulls you away from pain. So then what we've got to do is we've got to find a way to rewire our brain to create a new message that aligns joy to that new schedule.
Okay.
Does that make sense? We got to figure out, why is it that I haven't been willing to do it up till now? Maybe it's just a lack of clarity. Maybe it's a lack of time management. So that's why I'm saying give yourself the running start. Don't expect to start it perfectly tomorrow. Give yourself a week to even look at, what does the theoretical schedule look like? And then if we think we like that schedule, then we can figure out, okay, how am I going to back into that? How am I going to gradually get there? Maybe I'm going to start with just exercise this week. Just 20 minutes a day. I'm just going to find a time, no matter what, I'm going to walk for 20 minutes. Maybe next week I'm going to start adding in a vegetable. Or maybe the week after that, I'm going to start blocking out time for, thinking about my business again. Or maybe I'm going to block out time for personal development, and I'm going to make sure that, an hour a day I can work on reprogramming my beliefs. But if I do these things little by little by little, the old saying, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Right.
Well, it didn't take us a day to get these deeply ingrained beliefs.
True.
So if I take 9 more months and work on myself gradually but consistently, yes, I wanted it to be perfect yesterday, but that's not going to happen.
Right.
So while I would love, my overachiever perfectionist would love to say, I'm going to do it all starting tomorrow.
Right.
Well, then none of it's going to happen.
Right.
So is it better than if I could just have my eye on, let's say, the finish line, let's say the end of the year? Now, we know there's no such thing as a finish line, because that's just the finish line is a new starting line. Right? But if I'm going to say, for this phase, if my starting line is the end of December, so I'm giving myself 8.5 months, or 8 months, now March is almost over, wow. If I'm going to give myself 8 months, gradual consistency, then do you think those habits will stick for the long haul more?
I do.
And isn't that what matters most anyway, in the end?
Right.
We've got to get rid of this microwave mentality. And we've got to understand that crock pot consistency. Slow and steady wins the race, baby. How do you feel about that?
It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so you said it yourself. Solutions and then execution.
Right.
Right? So if you had to whittle it down to, let's say, your main takeaways from this conversation, what would your highlights be?
Reprogramming, everything that you said regarding the habits that I've created in the past is spot on. So having to reprogram, that's one thing. And then a part of that too is the self-sabotage to stop that, because now I'm creating a new thought process for I don't give myself enough credit for the things that I'm doing the right way. So like, even when you're asking me about the vegetables, like, I do eat healthy, but I'm always just thinking it's not enough or thinking I
Yeah.
want more. So just that whole reprogramming piece, and
Okay.
then spending time. And then also I like that crock pot consistency,
Mhm.
because I often can see the bigger picture. I
Mhm.
often can see the finish line, but then what's the next necessary step to take today in order that tomorrow can be good and the week can be good and then better months, and then
Great.
yeah.
Great. Okay. And then I'm waiting to hear you say about your theoretical schedule.
I am gonna make the schedule, and then I'm going to see if I like it. I'm gonna see if it works.
That's right.
Um, I'm gonna make it and I'm gonna stick to it, see if it works, and if it
No,
doesn't,
don't worry.
if it doesn't
Don't
work,
worry about sticking to it.
I'm
First,
saying I don't want to
try to
just make it
make
and
it.
not use it.
No. Right now, you're not even making it for the purpose of using it.
Okay.
You're making it for the purpose of seeing if you like it.
Okay.
Okay, because I literally want you to put yourself in the mental space of, I'm living in this schedule. This is my life. Am I in love with my life?
Okay.
Okay, and if not, tweak it. We're talking about in theory, right? So I want you to imagine that what you're doing right now is you are starting the process of designing and building a custom built life. Okay? Think of it of the analogy of a track home versus a custom built home. Which would you prefer? Of course,
Custom.
if I'm given my choice, I want to pick everything. I want it to be
Yeah.
perfect for me.
Right.
Okay? So why not do the same thing with your life? So that's what the schedule is allowing you to do, is to take a look at what would my life have to look like on a weekly basis, week in, week out, week in, week out, week in, week out, for me to love my life.
Okay.
Because I can promise you, when you love your life, or you love the life you're creating, that you're working hard to create, you will jump out of bed every morning, eager to attack and assess the new day, to embrace it. Okay, but if there's nothing exciting to jump out of bed for,
Right.
okay.
Right.
You understand the difference?
Right.
Okay? So how do you live your dream life? You schedule it. So that's why I'm saying look at what type of a weekly schedule, because now I'm not saying, like, not everybody loves everything they do all day long,
Right.
right? But
Right.
if I'm doing it for a greater purpose, if I'm doing it because I know it's taking me somewhere, if I'm doing it, but then there's such a thing that's called divine discontent. And divine discontent means you're doing it over and over again, and there is just a voice inside of you that says, I cannot do this. This is
Mm.
not me. This is not aligned with me. There's more to life than this. This is like, I just, where you feel like a caged animal, that you can't take one more moment. And those little messages, those seasons of divine discontent, they move you into your new place, your new season, your new purpose. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Okay, so that's what I want you to do with the schedule. Not, God forbid, that you're going to give yourself another thing you're hanging over your head that you're forcing yourself, to do.
Right.
Okay, but you're creating the schedule to look at it and have a real powerful heart-to-heart talk with yourself and say, do I love that life? And if not, what do I need to do to create a life that I love? Because there is a way to earn money doing things I love. There is a way to create income that's aligned with my personal passions. There is a way to design my day that I'm motivated to get up and get out the door and to create schedule and clarity. But all of those things, those are just tactics. Creating a schedule, getting rid of the clutter, those are tactics to help you achieve once you're clear on what it is that you want to achieve. And I feel like that's going to be your biggest game changer, is dialing into that bullseye on what it is that you want to achieve in the first place.
Right.
Make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay, so I would love to hear a follow-up from you. I would love to hear from you next week once you've had a chance to start working on your schedule, to take a look at it. If you've got any questions, of course, you're certainly welcome just to shoot me a message over through our Facebook page, and I will be happy to give you my feedback if you get stuck on anything. But I believe that if I were beside you, like, in person next to each other, and we were running buddies, that's where we would start.
Okay.
Okie doke?
Okay. Sounds good.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording. Give me 1 second.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I hope everybody that was listening has been able to take these things and also apply them to your own life, because the things that we are talking about are conversations and questions that everybody would relate to. So that's the purpose of these March mentoring sessions, Mentoring Mondays, is I tried my best to pick a very diverse slice of women that are working to create their dream life so that we can all learn from each other. And so we've got one last session next week of our March Mentoring Monday. So Sydonie, hang with me 1 second. I'm just going to stop the recording.